Swaziland's annual Reed Dance is a seminal moment in the country's cultural calendar. And a major draw for tourists. Thousands of unmarried girls dance in front of the king at the royal residence. Traditionally, it's when the king chooses his latest wife. About 2 hours' drive away from the dance, in the mountains, we met Mary. It's not her real name, but she's danced before the king 7 times. She and her sister have started making their living illegally. Like many people in this remote rural area, they grow and sell marijuana.
If the police will find that you growing this thing, you will be in trouble. So that's why we used to grow it in the forest, near the rivers.
I don't have a job at all. This is the only way I do my living.
Majozi Sithole is Swaziland's finance minister. He acknowledges that unemployment is high, but says the government has to keep making cuts, whatever the political or social cost.
Yes, there are challenges in Swaziland as everywhere else because of the fiscal crisis. Yes, there are problems of youth unemployment in Swaziland as in other countries. But for it to be said it would result in the Arab Spring, I think that's an exaggeration.
South Africa's President Zuma has offered some respite after the IMF refused Swaziland a loan. A $355 million bailout was agreed.
We're waiting for the South Africans to indicate to us whether that money is still available or not. And if it is available, we will gladly take it. It will assist us in meeting some of the fiscal challenges that we currently have. But if it is not available, we already are taking steps to say, let's look at what we have.
The South African government is insisting on political and economic reforms before the loan is finalised. But some human rights campaigners believe that Swaziland's large neighbour could be doing more.
The South African bailout is going to be fine for this short term, but in the long run, we really need to find a lasting solution.
Critics of the king believe he and his array of wives have contributed to the financial demise of this small kingdom. In 2009, Forbes magazine estimated that the king had a personal fortune of $100 million, and that there are reports of expensive cars, a palace for every wife, private jets bought by so-called anonymous sponsors, and lavish spending.
I would say these are people that are talking from an uninformed position. We do a budget, we take our budget to Parliament, and it is discussed extensively by the parliamentarians. They pass it, and we try to say, spend within what Parliament has approved. And I can assure you, His Majesty or the royal family, they never overspend on what they've been allocated.
In times of financial crisis, governments have tough decisions to make. But in a country where a quarter of the population has HIV or AIDS and unemployment is soaring, for many there's very little light in their future.
They don't think about us. They said all those words. I don't think that they are just making an improvement.
If government failed to pay for us, it's very, very difficult to further our studies.
We will not stop them from pursuing those studies, but like everybody else, government also has a budget constraint.
The reality is, if government cannot be able to do the right priorities, we tend to create a generation of people who will be indebted by disease, indebted by illiteracy. People will be overwhelmed by issues of low economic status.